back to another video. As you can tell by the background behind me, this is a Halloween themed video. I thought it was only appropriate with this going up on Halloween. So if you follow me on Instagram, a couple of weeks ago you will know that I asked you for any questions you might have regarding Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Halloween Horror Nights. Normally that would be our plans for the Halloween season. Usually in September or October we take a trip to Florida and we take in all of the Halloween activities that the parks have to offer. Obviously this year that can't happen, so our plans for this year are to just stay in and watch the new Halloween Kills film with a takeaway. Halloween is our anniversary, so we do like to do something to mark the occasion. But I just thought with putting a video up on Halloween, it would be fun to do a bit of a Halloween themed Q&A. So I do have your questions wrote down on a notepad because I needed my phone to film. And there's about 10 questions here, so I'll just start working my way through them. Question number 1 is my favourite and least favourite part of both events. So Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at Walt Disney World and Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. For me, my least favourite part, I'll start with that because it's probably easiest. My least favourite part of both is definitely the crowds. There's been a couple of times when we've gone to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and the crowds, to be honest, have almost ruined the night. We're really good at using fast passes, as they used to be, so when fast pass isn't available we actually find that we end up waiting in longer queues even though there's technically less people in the park. It also just makes it feel more claustrophobic in general. People are a lot more insistent on getting a place for the parade and the fireworks, so it makes that a lot more stressful. So while we do really enjoy Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, the crowds are a big negative to it for us. And the same can almost be said for Halloween Horror Nights. Sometimes when you've got too many people in a particular scare zone, you can't really enjoy it because you're just that busy trying to squish your way through. A good example of that would be the Rob Zombie Scare Zone from, I think it was the last time we were there in 2019. A couple of times we went through that scare zone and you couldn't really enjoy any of the scare actors that were in there because you were that packed in like sardines trying to get your way through that you couldn't really see who was where. So the crowds for both are definitely my least favourite part. I do have to give a special mention here also to the chainsaws at Halloween Horror Nights. If you ask my fiance, he would tell you that is my least favourite part of Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know what it is, there's just something about those chainsaws that puts the fear of God in me. It absolutely terrifies me and I will be off like a shot if any of them come near me. So that definitely deserves a special mention. As for my favourite part, for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, it would definitely be the Boo To You parade. In a way, that's one reason I don't mind missing it too much this year, because I know that the actual Boo To You parade isn't there. And that is probably my favourite part of the event. I love the gravediggers that are part of it. I love the fact that all the villains are included. I love the music. I just think it's a really fun, different parade, and that is definitely my favourite part of the night. I did always love Hallowishes as well, but definitely for me, Boo To You is my favourite part. And I do love the trick-or-treating as well. I'm never going to turn down free chocolate or free candy. For Halloween Horror Nights, my favourite part, to be honest, is probably the RIP tour. We make a point of budgeting to be able to do the RIP tour on one night of our nights at Halloween Horror Nights. If you don't know what that is, I will put a link to some information about it in the description. We've done it quite a few times now, and it basically means you have a much shorter wait at the houses because your tour guide takes you straight to the front of the line. You get a lot of the background info around what the houses and the scare zones are based on, and you're in a much smaller group of people. You get to meet some new people, and it just makes the night a lot more special, and it means you get through all of the houses, all of the scare zones, you get to see the show, and it's definitely a must-do for us. So that's my favourite part of Halloween Horror Nights. On to the next question. I did find this quite funny. Someone asked me, and I'm assuming this is because they're a bit of a wimp as I am, how do you do Halloween Horror Nights? Honestly, I don't know. When it comes to horror films, I am a massive wimp, can't stand them. I will watch them, mainly if it's something that's going to be involved in Halloween Horror Nights, but for the most part, I hate horror films. And I am absolutely terrified at Halloween Horror Nights. I'm scared the whole night. I'm always on edge waiting for someone to jump out at me. I scream my way through the houses. But in a way, that's part of the fun of it. The adrenaline keeps you going. It's almost fun being scared. And honestly, I think a lot of you out there, if you think you're too much of a wimp, or if you think that you hate horror too much to go to Halloween Horror Nights, I think if you went, you would be really surprised at yourself. I only went the first year in 2014 because I knew how much my fiancé wanted to go, and I was like, right, I'll just get myself through it, I'll have a couple of drinks that'll maybe take the edge off of it, and I'll cope somehow, and we're only going to do it a couple of times and then that'll be it. But honestly, that first time I really enjoyed it, and I think you would all surprise yourselves. If you think you would be too scared, it's actually really enjoyable. It is terrifying, but it's also really enjoyable. So if you can budget it into your trip at some point, I would definitely recommend just trying it, because you might find that it becomes one of your favourite parts of the holiday. Question number 3 is another favourites question. So my favourite food item at both events. For Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, I don't think I can give a favourite item. I'm not one for trying sort of the speciality treats. Obviously, as I've said, I love the trick-or-treating, so I love that you get the free chocolate and candy, especially because a lot of it is the American chocolate and candy, so you get to try some things that you would probably never try. But I haven't actually tried many of the Mickey's Not So Scary specific treats, so unfortunately I don't think I can give a favourite for that one. But for Halloween Horror Nights, I definitely can. Every year we get twisted taters and we get pizza fries. If you've never tried either of these, please try them. They are some of our favourite snacks to have on our whole Florida trip. We absolutely love them. So twisted taters is literally just fried potato twisted round a skewer, and you can get it with like different seasonings on it. We normally just go for the salt and vinegar ones. There's also a garlic one that's quite nice, but we definitely prefer the salt and vinegar. And pizza fries is literally exactly what it sounds like. It's fries with cheese and pepperoni, and I think there's also a bit of sausage in there as well. Absolutely delicious. Would 100% recommend trying those. The next question is, what are my opinions on the changes to the Halloween event at Disney this year? I'm going to be honest, I haven't paid a massive amount of attention to the changes. I know the basics, but because I knew that we weren't going to be going, I haven't really bothered looking into it as much as I normally would. I do know that obviously it's not Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party this year, it's the After Hours Boo Bash. And I do know that they don't have the usual Boo to You parade, they've got the cavalcades instead. And from what I've seen online, it doesn't seem as if there's as many characters out and about, because obviously they can't do the proper character meet and greets. Honestly, just from what I've seen online, I do think Disney are being a bit cheeky, charging the prices that they're charging for what you get at the event and for how long you get at the event. Don't get me wrong, if we had been able to go this year, we probably would have done it, because we do like to experience all of the Halloween events. But I do think that it seems to be more expensive than we've ever paid for Mickey's Not So Scary. You don't get as long of the actual event, because I believe it doesn't start until 9:30, and there doesn't seem to be as much on offer, so it's the cavalcades instead of the parade. As I said, there seems to be less characters, and obviously you can't actually properly meet the characters because of the whole social distancing and everything. So I do think it seems like quite an expensive price tag for not as much of an event. But on the whole, I do think it looks enjoyable. As I say, we probably would do it if we'd been able to go, but I definitely prefer Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party from what I've read and seen about the new event online. The next question is a Halloween Horror Nights based question, and that is my favourite house and favourite scare zone that we've ever done. My favourite house, that is a really tough question. The first house that we ever did was a Halloween themed house, like the film Halloween, Michael Myers. It was based around that. So that will always hold a special place for me because it was the first one that we ever did. And the Halloween film was probably the first scary film that I ever actually could say I enjoyed. So I definitely loved that one. Other than that, I did love the Poltergeist house. I found that terrifying but really enjoyable as well, and I thought it was really well themed to the film. And also I think another one that sticks in my mind was the Exorcist house. I can't remember what year it was, but I can remember that there was a part where we were walking through a room where you go around the bed and she's on the bed and there's a priest, and the priest was like stock still. The other times we'd gone through the house he hadn't moved, and we came into this room and he was still stood completely still. I didn't think it was a real person. He was that still. And then all of a sudden he lunges across the bed right into my face. I don't think I've ever screamed that loudly ever, like in a Horror Night house, in a scare zone, just in my life. I've never screamed so much. It absolutely terrified me just because I wasn't expecting it, because I thought it was like a mannequin, I thought it was a dummy. So that absolutely terrified me. So that is also one that always sticks in my head, even though it completely scared the life out of me. That does always stick in my head as like one of the best scares I've ever got in a house. So I think that would have to be on my favourites list as well. As for scare zones, I think possibly my favourite, and it could just be because it was one of the first ones we did, would be the Purge scare zone from our first year. I think because it was so new, and because we did love the Purge film, and also we managed to get a couple of chances to get some photographs with a couple of the scare actors, which if I can, I'll put a couple on the screen somewhere of the photos from that scare zone. I think that was a big favourite of mine. But I did also love the Zombieland scare zone as well. That was really enjoyable. And there was one, I'm racking my brains trying to think of the name of it. My fiance will probably kill me for not being able to remember it. I think it was possibly the last year that we went, and it was one that was like sort of a catwalk, and it was based on like plastic surgery and all that sort of thing, and we got some really good scares in that scare zone. If I remember the name of it, or if I look it up, I'll put it in the description. That was a really good one for us as well. We got some really good scares, and we spent a lot of time in that scare zone, so that would definitely be up there on the list for me. The next question is, do we dress up for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party? Yes and no. We've had years where we have and years where we haven't. I do always try to wear something Halloween themed. So for example, this photo, I wore a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party t-shirt, and I'd made my own sort of tie-in bow with the colour scheme to go as like a head accessory. And then there was a time where we wore this, so we got the Haunted Mansion themed t-shirts, and I'd also made myself a bow to go with that one. Then there's been other years where we've gone full costume, so I think it was the first one we went to, we went as Mickey and Minnie Pirates, which I'll put the photo here. That was pretty much just like an online bought costume that I added some ears to. And then there's been a year where I went all out. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest, because it took forever to make the costumes, but I hand stitched our costumes and we went as Woody and Jessie. This is my favourite costume that we've done. We got a lot of compliments on these costumes, and I loved it even more because I knew that I'd made them myself. So yeah, it does vary. It depends on if we have the time to be able to make or buy costumes, if we have the money to be able to make or buy them. And honestly, it depends where in the trip we're doing Mickey's Not So Scary. So if, for example, we're doing it on our last night of the trip, we possibly won't dress up just because it's a lot of hassle the night before you're going home. But if it's in the middle of the trip, then we quite possibly will. So it does vary. I think the next time we go, if we do the Halloween party, depending on what version of a Halloween party they're doing, we probably will dress up in some way, because it'll have been a few years since we've been, and it'll be our honeymoon, so we'll want to make it special in some way. The next question is, what is my fave Halloween Horror Nights icon? We've only really experienced one proper icon, and that was Chance. Obviously Jack is there this year and we would have loved to have been there to experience Jack. I know he's a lot of people's favourites, but other than that we haven't experienced any of the years where they've had a proper icon. But Chance we absolutely love. I think she's such a great character. I love that it's a female icon. I just think she's a great embodiment of everything that Halloween Horror Nights is. Her house that she had a couple of years ago we really enjoyed. The scare zone that she was a major part of we loved. We did the scare actor dining where we got to have a photo taken with her. That was absolutely brilliant. She's so great to interact with, and yeah, she is definitely a brilliant icon. I really hope that she is there when we go next year. If she could be there with Jack, even better, but I would definitely take Chance over any other icon for any Halloween Horror Nights. I'll put a photo here actually of when we met Chance. It's one of my favourite photos we've had taken at Halloween Horror Nights. I absolutely loved that meet. The next question, which actually ties into what I've just been talking about, is do we do any of the extras at Mickey's Not So Scary or Halloween Horror Nights? The answer is yes. We always love to try an extra to the trip. We love to add tours or special events on. So for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, we have done the Hallowishes dessert party. If I can find some photos, I'll put some on the screen. We've done the normal dessert party and we've done it for Mickey's Not So Scary. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're someone who loves dessert items. We're not big dessert people, so in a way for us it was almost a waste of money because we didn't really eat all that much of what there was to offer. We had little bits and pieces, but we probably didn't get our money's worth. But for the view of the fireworks and the fact that you're not crammed in with tons of other people, you don't feel like you're either fighting to get a place or fighting to keep your place, or you're not waiting for someone to turn up at the last minute with a kid on their shoulders and completely block your view. I definitely think it's worth the money for that aspect of it. We were in the sort of little garden area that's fenced off and we were literally stood with loads of room around us. Nobody was getting in your way. You could just sit down and relax until right before the fireworks started, and we had a really brilliant view of the fireworks themselves. So I don't even know if that is still an offering, obviously not at the minute, but if it does come back I would definitely recommend giving it a go. As I say, especially if you're a dessert person, because some of the things on offer do look amazing and they've got brilliant reviews, but we just aren't big dessert people. For Halloween Horror Nights, we've done a couple of them. So as I said, we always try and do the RIP tour. We are huge RIP tour fans. The tour guides are amazing. We've had 2 of them now and they were both brilliant, both so knowledgeable. They both had all the background info that you would expect them to have, but they both did it in their own way. It was very unique. Obviously you get straight to the front of the queue for the houses. You get to go through every scare zone, every house, the show. You do get a little bit of food and drink included as well. You get to meet new people who also love Halloween Horror Nights. Obviously you do run the risk of getting someone in your group that isn't the nicest person. We did have an older person on our last one that was a bit of a pain in the backside. He was in front of me going through one of the houses and he was taking so long. He was holding up the full queue. He was stopping at everything. At one point I sighed and tooted out loud because he was just ruining the experience for everyone else. And he basically turned around and said to me, well, I've paid my money, I can go at what speed I like. So he wasn't the best person to be in our group, but you just have to ignore people like that and focus on the people in your group that are fun and are there to enjoy the event the same as you are. But yeah, we love the RIP tour. We would definitely suggest that to anyone. Going to Halloween Horror Nights. It is a bit of a pricey item, but if you can factor it into your budget, I would definitely suggest doing it, because especially if you've maybe only got one night, it means you're guaranteed to get all the houses and scare zones in. It's a great way to experience everything. As I said, we have also done the scare actor dining. I don't actually know if that's still an offering anymore. If it is, I'll put some information about it down below. That is basically, it was always in the Monster Cafe, and there was sort of a buffet type food option. Lots of really good options. The rice was my favourite. It was delicious. I basically had a plate full of rice. There was soft drinks included, and you could pay for alcoholic drinks while you were in there, including the signature Halloween Horror Nights cocktails. And then you get the chance to meet and take photos with people who are scare actors from the different scare zones and houses of the event. So for example, as I said, we met Chance at ours. There was also Michael Myers. We had a vampire when they had the Vamp Scare Zone. There was the Wicked Witch when Scary Tales was a house. So you get a little bit of everything from the event, and you get some really great interactions, some really great photos. I'll pop some up on the screen as I'm talking, just so you can see what kind of photos you get. You always get one sort of posed professional photo included, which is how we got the one with Chance and the one with the Wicked Witch that you can see here. And then you can feel free to take your own photos. It is quite dark in Monster Cafe. Obviously it's themed for monsters, and then obviously it's Halloween Horror Nights. So you've got to make sure you get it at the right angle to actually be able to see you in a lot of the photos. But it's definitely worth doing. And from what I can remember, I think it was about $30 per person, which you would pretty much pay that for a normal meal anyway. So it's definitely worth the cost. We are planning to do another couple of extras on our honeymoon, but I'll save that until nearer the time when I tell you all about our plans. So there's just a couple more questions. The next one is, what is my favourite character at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party? I'm not sure if this means to meet or just my favourite character in general. We've never actually met any of the sort of big characters at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. We did meet Lotso, and we did meet Buzz the year that we were dressed as Woody and Jessie, because obviously you've got to go and meet Buzz when you're dressed as Woody and Jessie. And we had a really, really great interaction with him, which I will put here. But the sort of big ticket characters, we have never waited in a queue to meet. We did once get in a queue to meet Donald and Daisy, because Donald is my absolute favourite, and I would love to meet him in his Halloween costume. But honestly, we were in the queue for about an hour and we just hadn't moved. I mean, it's great interaction wise because it means everyone's getting a good amount of time with the characters. But we'd been in that queue for an hour and we'd literally moved maybe 5 foot in the queue, and it was a long queue. And it was getting to the point where we were wasting our whole party queuing for that one character meet. It almost got to where we were going to miss the fireworks, queuing for that one character meet. So we just decided it wasn't worth it. If you get your timing right, or if characters are the only thing that you're bothered about doing, then it's probably worth it for you. But for us, we wanted to experience more of the event, so it just isn't worth it for us to wait in those huge long queues. I would still love to meet Donald in his Halloween costume. Really, all of the like Fab 6, including Daisy, I would love to meet in their Halloween costumes. And I would quite like to meet Jack Skellington. I hate Nightmare Before Christmas, I don't like the film. But just for the Halloween aspect of it, I would love to meet Jack Skellington. But for the queues, it just isn't worth it for us. My favourite character in general for the Halloween parties, as I said, I do love Donald in his costume. And I just think a lot of the unique characters, I love that Disney brings out characters that you wouldn't normally get to meet in like the day-to-day park activities. I love that there's very unique and special character meets at the Halloween parties, because if that's something that you're willing to wait for, then it is a great opportunity to meet the ones that you would never normally get to do. And the last question, which I have sort of covered, is do we have any Halloween plans for our honeymoon? So people who follow me on Instagram will know that even though we're getting married in May, we are having a mini moon just locally after our wedding, but we're saving our actual honeymoon for September. And our plan is to have a week in LA and then 2 weeks in Florida. Of course, being there in September, Halloween plans will be involved. We will be going to Halloween Horror Nights. We will probably be doing whatever Halloween offering that Disney has at the time. When we're in LA, currently we don't have any plans to take in the Halloween events there. We are doing Disneyland and we are doing Universal Studios Hollywood. but we just want to experience those parks for themselves, because my fiance hasn't been for years, since he was a young kid, and I've never been. So I really just want to experience everything that the parks have to offer without the Halloween events taking our time away from that. So at the minute, we aren't planning to do anything for Halloween when we're in LA. That might change, but just currently that's what we're thinking. Obviously when we get to Florida, we will be doing, as I've said, whatever Disney's offering and Halloween Horror Nights. We'll be doing the RIP tour because we always do that. If scare actor dining is a thing, we might do that again. We also have plans to do the Unmasking the Horror tour, which is the daytime tour that shows you the houses with the lights on and tells you some of the background into what they're based on, how they're created. That's something we're both really interested in. We love behind the scenes things, so we do have plans to do that as long as they're still offering it next year. But I do plan to do a whole video on our honeymoon plans a lot nearer the time, when we've got a lot more set in stone and a lot more booked. So I'll tell you all about that when that comes around. And I think that pretty much covers most of the questions that I had. A lot of them were very similar, so I've sort of condensed them down into those 10 questions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's maybe given you some ideas of new Halloween things to try if you're going to Florida. And I hope I've answered as many of your questions as I could. As I say, obviously this video is going up on Halloween, so I just want to wish you all a very happy Halloween. I hope you enjoy whatever plans that you have. Eat all of the Halloween chocolate, watch the scary films, and I hope you've all had a really great time. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.